Aaron, are you on YouTube? Are you on YouTube? Okay. Okay. What game? Are you on YouTube? Are you on YouTube? Yeah, but are you actually though? That's all I'm saying. Okay. Okay, there we go. No, I'd just muted it until I knew that it worked or not, 'cause otherwise it would be kind of pointless. There's a delay of about 20 seconds with what I see in the chat versus how quickly I respond to it. So I'm going to keep my phone open just so that I can keep on top of that. But anyway, yes, we're here in Istanbul at the old airport because they don't have the new airport. And I thought we might visit Moscow, specifically Domodedovo. So, I've already done most of the pre-flight. I've saved most of the boring paperwork. Let me just quickly open my stream manager because then I can actually see messages that you send. 1 second. Okay. All right, there we go. It's working now. Okay. So basically, I'm gonna try and bring this up on screen. I'm gonna open some charts for Moscow. Actually, no, it's okay. Anyway, so our routing. I've checked the weather already. The weather is actually quite nice coming out of Istanbul, but going into Moscow, it's a little cloudy, but we can deal with that. The temperature currently at Istanbul Ataturk. I will give you temperatures momentarily for more flight information. Let's load UUDD, Moscow Domodedovo. Okay. Ooh, that's a bit cold. Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board our Boeing 737-800 service from Istanbul Ataturk to Moscow Domodedovo. Our estimated flight time today is roughly 2 hours 50 minutes. We're estimating an arrival time of 2045 Zulu. Local time in Moscow should roughly equal that. Give you some weather information for our departure and our arrival airfield. Currently in Istanbul Ataturk, the temperature is sitting at roughly 8 degrees Celsius, with winds gusting 3-2 knots. Clouds at 2,600 feet and a little bit of turbulence on the departure. And in Moscow Domodedovo, currently at the moment, although the weather is expected to change, the temperature currently is minus 11 degrees Celsius, with a wind of 6 knots, 290 degrees. I'll inform you on departure time in roughly 5 minutes, and welcome on board. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go through some quick pre-flight checks. Again, I haven't flown this for a while, so I might be a tad rusty. Let me just disable that. There we go. Anyway, so as you can see on the little flight computer that we have down here, I'm going to make that bigger so that everyone can see it. Initially, after we take off, we've got to maintain a target speed, or we have a target speed of a maximum of 220 knots. Yes, exactly. Make sure you're wearing a warm jumper because otherwise it's going to be quite chilly. So we're going to take off. All of the takeoff data has already been plugged in. We're expecting a temperature of minus 54 degrees outside. Transition altitude, where we change from the current barometric pressure of the atmosphere to the standard setting, which is 1013.25 hectopascals, is 10,000 feet, which is a standard. We're going to be on the Mike Alpha Kilo Oscar 1 X-ray departure, which takes us to the north of Istanbul and then out into the sea. And then we will be making a step climb up to a cruising altitude of 35,000 feet, or roughly 12,000 meters. Of course, Domodedovo, most of the charts are operated in meters. However, with Jefferson, they actually give conversions into feet, so I don't have to convert to meters, except for the wind speed, which is meters per second. And the wind there is 3 meters per second, which equates to about 6 knots. There's a task for you. Work out 3 meters per second into miles per hour, because we did that before, didn't we? Right, anyway. So currently we're at gate 105. Let me get an overview of the airport for you. So currently we're at gate 305. We need to push back with our nose facing to this direction, to the right, and we're going to make a taxi down there and to runway 35 left. So without further ado, I've got all the electrics set up, all the fuel pumps are on already. I've already set the electricity to run on the APU generator. However, when we swap over to our engine power, it will take the electrical power from there. Seatbelts on. Okay. Alright. Let's get this pushing back now. Menu, FS actions. Push back. Turn nose to the right. I'm sure we can actually do that if it doesn't push it back properly. So, we're going to release parking brakes. Let me just make sure that all of my throttles are set correctly. 1 second. There we go. Speed brakes also set. Lovely jubbly. Alright, let's push back. I was going to use the PMDG pushback, but what time is our flight, love? Actually, I'm a little late in taking off because I was hoping it would work a little earlier. But we're going to estimate departure in about 5 to 10 minutes because there's no other traffic, which is nice. So what we're going to do, we're going to start the left engine first. We're going to swap this to ground, and then we're going to put the ignition onto the left-hand engine. It's a little bit laggy. Okay, also we just need to very quickly confirm that we've checked the packs. Packs off for left and right, taking APU bleed. There we go. Alright. Master caution check. N1 rising, N2. N2 is good, so at 25% N2 we're going to engage the fuel. 25% N2, fuel engaging. Gonna finish the pushback just there. Okay. Fuel is engaging, we can see that the engine is now spooling up. Our exhaust gas temperature is currently nominal, increasing past 300. We have to closely monitor the exhaust gas temperature when starting the engine, in case we've injected too much fuel too early, which would lead to a hot start, which is basically the fuel is igniting far too early and you can end up damaging the engine. But so far, engine temperatures are normal. One second. There we go. So yes, we now have our left engine on and everything is nominal. So we're going to switch to the left electrical generator and we're going to cut ignition for that side. Ignition now going to the right engine. A little lag as it starts spooling. There we go. So our engine is now spooling. We have 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 N2 engaging the fuel. Waiting for the click. There we go. We now have rising exhaust gas temperature. N1 is now spooling. N2 is nominal. Exhaust gas temperature is nominal. Currently on board we have 9,240 kilograms of fuel, I believe. And starter is clicked off. Going to cut the ignition onto that side. Engine is normal and stabilized. Hang on. There we go, it's reached self-sustaining speed. So now that we're ready for taxi, we're going to put the taxi lights on, logo lights on, all of those lovely lights on, so we're lit up like a Christmas tree. We're going to swap to generator right, so we now are running on the engine's electrical power. We're going to turn off, confirm those are off, turn off the the internal APU, waiting for that to start shutting off. Let's get some more lights in here. I don't think you can ever run out of lights. Captain, we need you to translate this into Turkish and Russian. Well, milady. I mean, I could, but that might take me a little bit of time and it might come out a little botched. So I'm just going to let my first officer do it. Imagine that you can hear that now. Yeah. We're going to very quickly set the VOR, which is the ground station, for this departure. Actually, no, this is an RNAV departure. RNAV stands for area navigation, and it's essentially an internally controlled system. So actually, we don't need to touch the VOR. Let's just set up our takeoff trim. We're looking at CG 23.6, trim 5.11. Let's put that back a little bit. There we go. Okay. I think we're ready to taxi. Okay. So we have our initial altitude set to 4,000 feet because at roughly 10.8 miles from the airfield there is an altitude restriction. We have to reach a particular point, Bravo Alpha 040, at or below 4,000 feet. So we have to follow the route as such. But I think we can now start taxiing. So let's get this show on the road. Release the brakes. Parking brake released. Taxi lights are on. I think I may have just lost sound for some reason. One second, I've lost sound. Hold on. Menu, PMDG setup, aircraft options, sound, headset earphones. Okay. One second. General. Give me one moment. Sound. Primary playback device. That. There we go. There we go. Now we've got some of that CFM 56 action. So, let's get moving. And ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome on board. Our estimated time of departure is local time 9:30. We should be taxiing towards runway 35 left now. We'll inform you when ready for departure. Boom. So, if you didn't know already, Istanbul opened up a new airport. What do you think about that? Oh, don't tell me that's crashed. That would have been really embarrassing if the game just decided to shut off. Right, so we need to take a left here. And then a right a little further along. And then we're there. Thank you very much. So temperature outside, the TAT, which is the static air temperature corrected for ram rise, sorry, where the compression of the air actually heats up the air in front of the aircraft, is 23 degrees Celsius. which is a bit toasty actually. This lag is quite interesting. It should go away. There we go. Right, we're going to set the plane for takeoff. Set 5 for flaps. There is our turn up ahead. So we're going to make a right at this turning. Yes, this turning is our right-hand turn. Trying to be as smooth as we can be on the turns, because we don't want people being thrown around in the back there like Ryanair. Except I may have just done that anyway, it's fine, there's no big deal. At least there's no one I can run over. This is practical studying, in my opinion. It's practical study. Oh, no bit of lag. There we go. I didn't even share the stream link. I only sent it to one person. Maybe it came up as live. So excited to play to new iPhone. Look for Cordy invited. Yes, I agree. Quarterly invited should be like just instantly in stock. Okay, they shouldn't even bother with absolutely anything else. Just move around the area, set up the flight stick, no pun intended. I don't know if does this plane have the heads up? No, it doesn't have the heads up display. That would have been quite handy. So when we come into Moscow, we're going to be using the Delta Romeo 32 Alpha arrival with the ILS for runway 32 right. And I've already got the charts set up. We've already done a thorough approach and departure briefing. Let's just have a look-see outside. What are we doing here? Because I don't actually have the taxi chart with me, so it's the next right. Okay, that's handy. If I had the taxi chart with me, I wouldn't even bother looking outside, but I don't have the taxi chart, which is slightly annoying. Ooh, Google Chrome, hello. So excited to fly into... Alright. So before entering the runway, it doesn't matter which runway it is, even if you're just crossing it, you always put on your landing lights. You have to be as lit up as possible on as a Christmas tree, because you want maximum visibility for yourself and also for others too. But because this is basically, let's just pop them on now. Landing lights on. We'll pop the strobe lights on as we enter the runway. So this is runway 35 right. We're going to cross over 35 right and line up on runway 35 left, where we will activate strobes, take off config, and then we're good to go. Okay, runway is clear. Clear to enter runway. And our holding point is just ahead, so we'll set up our takeoff config at the holding point. So, normally, unless you have permission, you're actually not, because this holding point here, this is for the runway coming off of the one that we're about to go onto. That's why it's kind of backwards. The letters are written as if you were coming off the runway in front of us. The holding point, which is the one that we're now at, which is the striped yellow lines across the taxiway, those are the ones that we need to hold at. So we're now here. Going to pop the parking brake on. So takeoff config checks. Auto brake selected to rejected takeoff. Landing lights are on. Taxi lights off. Strobe lights to position and steady. I think... Oh, yes, quickly swap the electrical power to generator. We're good to go. We're going to dim the cockpit here. Turn off the main lights, because I always find a dark cockpit is a nice one to work through. Set the initial heading to 355. 355 selected. We're going to turn the flight directors on. Vertical speed selected to an initial climb of about 1,000 foot per minute. Auto throttle is on and armed. We're going to set an immediate speed target to 180 maximum. And we're going to pop the LNAV route in because it's an RNAV route. Other than that, flaps set to takeoff setting. We are all good to get in the air. Let's go flying. Cabin crew, positions for departure, please. What's on the menu today? We're going to have some delicious shrimp. Delicious. Delicious shrimp. There, I can't even talk right now. Okay. Delicious shrimp. That's a tongue twister. Try and say that 5 times. Right, I'm going to have my departure charts on the desk so I know what we're doing. Okay, that's set up. Alright, let's get onto the runway. We're going to use maximum runway length available with a 24K derated takeoff, just to save on engine thrust and engine wear. Going to activate the speed hold as soon as we can after departure. And we're going to manually fly it, I reckon, up to about 4,000. Okay. And have a nice flight. Setting initial thrust, 40%. Thrust stabilized. Advancing throttles again. Takeoff thrust set. RPM stabilized. 80 knots. Ooh, a bit of a crosswind there. Approaching V1. V1. Rotate. Airborne. Positive rate of climb. Gear going up. Acceleration height reached. Cutting back the throttles very shortly. RPM cut back now. Approaching speed hold on. Auto throttles now have control of the airspeed of the aircraft. We're now airborne and climbing. Still manual flying. And we're going to level off here because we do not want to pass that altitude restriction of 2,200 feet. Got an FMC caution that's warning us that we're not going to reach 220 knots before the next point, but actually it's okay. We're going to still try and accelerate to that speed. Currently we're in cutback mode. That's for noise abatement. Once we've passed the cutback altitude, we will then engage. Okay, we're going to level off here. Going to go flaps 1. We're going to continue our climb now to 4,000 feet. We should reach our noise abatement height of 3,000 very shortly. It's a bit turbulent, I must admit. We're getting little yellow flashes there regarding our unable. Oh yeah, it's very turbulent. Hello. Okay, climbing. Definitely turbulent. Ooh, there's lightning. I just saw a flash of lightning ahead. Okay, we're now about to hit our acceleration height, so we're going to whack on the autopilot there. Autopilot engaged. Cleanup config. Auto brakes off. Landing lights off. Flaps are clean. Landing gear disabled. So now we're climbing. Where can I buy one myself? Well, it's available at a one-time only store. Okay, we can continue our climb now to 12,000 feet. What we're going to do is put that in to the MCP, and we're going to increase the climb rate and engage VNAV. So let's have a look. Right now, on our weather radar, we're showing some light precipitation or cloud. No red, so it should be okay. Should be okay. What we would be worried about if there were any red patches on this map, because this map basically shows you what weather. Yeah, you see, here we go. So the red areas are areas of heavy precipitation, because the weather radar in this only detects precipitation. In the normal one, it would detect the water droplets in clouds, but in this case, it detects precipitation only. And you definitely want to avoid the red ones. You want to be cautious about the yellow and where they're positioned, because they might be hiding something a little worse. But so far, it's actually looking pretty decent. There we go. That's where you can buy your limited edition me. So let's have a look. So we're currently stabilized and climb. We've reached our acceleration altitude. We're almost empty of fuel in the center tank, but that's nothing to be worried about because we have 2 full wing tanks. The benefit of that being is that we can increase the payload that we've carried, as the wings will basically not snap off because they've got more fuel in them. It's a very helpful thing to do. So we're going to increase now our cruise altitude, or initial cruise altitude of 35,000 feet. For those who work in meters, I'm going to engage, sorry, we've reached our standard pressure setting altitude now. Can't actually click it. There we go. Going to put meters in. So I've set our cruise altitude to 10,668 meters, and we have our current altitude of 3,500 meters. So we've got a pretty big cloud up ahead. There's nothing particularly dangerous inside of that cloud. We should be okay. The winds, again, they're okay. They're not extreme. So we're all good. I'm going to try and turn on the light again. There we go. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm definitely not single. Definitely not. So let's have a look at our progress page. So, we're currently estimating an arrival time at 1937 Zulu for the next waypoint to Domodedovo. It's 21:46 Zulu. Convert that to local time. I believe Moscow is +3 right now. If there might be any Muscovites in the chat, I believe Moscow is +3. So right now I think it's 22:40. I think right now. So currently our aircraft is in N1 hold. Pen's just stopped working, that's not handy. Let's see. So our cruising altitude should be reached in approximately 60 miles. So we should be into 140, 880 miles to go by the time we reach our cruising altitude. And Moscow is definitely going to be plus me when I get there, considering, you know, I'm going there right now. So, yeah. Just go ahead and shut some of these lights off. We don't need the wheel well lights on anymore. We'll keep the wing lights on so the passengers can get a nice view of the wing. Let's have a look at the pressurization system. So the differential pressure between the cabin and the outside is 3 psi. And the cabin altitude currently, sorry, it's 6.1 psi, 6.2. And the cabin altitude is currently reading 1,800 almost. So that is okay. Hold on. No. Automatic pressurization. Okay. If we get any warnings about that, we'll find out. Interesting. Just messing around with the pressurization system so we can keep everyone nice and interesting. We may have an issue with our pressurization system. I'll have to keep a watch on that. If the pressurization system indicates a very high... Actually, no, it's fine, because if the pressurization system reaches a maximum preset value, there's something called a cabin outflow valve. The outflow valve opens automatically when there's an excessive cabin pressure detected, and will let some of the pressurized air inside of the cabin flow out of the aircraft. So we're going to keep tabs on that, but it should stop at about 7 psi. We've got the cabin altitude set to about 1,000 feet, but we've also set the inside cabin altitude to 500, so if we have any problems, we'll halt the descent, and we'll keep an eye on that. But in front of us right now, I don't see any areas of bad CAT. No, I'm not going to do a barrel roll. Zulu is +3, so +3. If we're estimating 2046 Zulu, -1 for Cyprus, 2346. So local time, that will be... Okay. Just collecting all the information that we need. Okay, everything is running good. Everything is running normal. Let's have a look at our pressure. Differential pressure is fine. It's not in the yellow or in the red, and it seems to have halted at about 7 psi, which is normal. The maximum is 9. So if we start having 9 psi for differential pressure, we're going to have to... possibly going to have to consider a descent. Basically, differential pressure. Inside the cabin... let me just turn that down, by the way. Let me just turn down this wind, because that might be a little loud. So inside the cabin, we have a pressurization system. Now, the pressurization is actually controlled by a little tiny valve that is either opened or closed at a specific amount. So, at high altitudes, there isn't enough pressure in the air to actually force the oxygen into our lungs when we breathe. To combat this, we pressurize the aircraft. So what we do is we take some air from the engine and also the outside, we mix it together, and we deliver that air in a constant volume into the cabin. And the cabin outflow valve makes sure that the right amount is leaving the cabin. If we shut the outflow valve, there would be too much pressure in the aircraft, and we could potentially cause damage to the aircraft. It would be like filling a balloon up to a really, really high amount, and then the balloon just pops, and we don't want that. If it's too low, then there wouldn't be enough pressure in the aircraft to actually force the oxygen into our lungs, and we would have to begin an emergency descent, which we don't want. So that's why we're keeping tabs on that. It's kind of like an aircraft's vital sign for the passengers. This panel here is a very important piece of equipment. It may just look like a little clock thing, but it's actually very important. So yes, that's why I'm monitoring that. I just wanted to make sure. So we've got a fuel caution. This is indicating to us that the center tank, as you can see here, is currently empty. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch off the fuel pumps for the center tanks. So the center tank is now empty. There's no fuel being drawn from it. And we're now burning fuel specifically from the wing tanks. And we can see that for ourselves, because in a moment that will change to 3820. There we go, see? Currently crossing 28,000 feet, about to hit 29,000, roughly 8,050 meters. If we look ahead, we look on the weather radar periodically. We can see there's some cloud over there, some severe cloud with a lot of nasty in it. It's coded red for us. But actually it looks quite clear, so we should be okay. We can see the moon. I can see the moon. Wait, let me adjust my view. I can see the moon. Okay. So we'll do some fuel cross checks about halfway through. We've got a headwind now, which is slowing us down by 9 knots, 10 knots now. As soon as I say that, it instantly slams us. That's great. You're doing great. We're approaching our cruising altitude now of 10,668 meters. Okay. And if I'm right, I did make a quick calculation on the distance. So we'll update that calculation now to 850. Okay, approaching level of altitude now. 1,000 to go. Checked. Zero zero 047. Okay. And ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, this is your potential captain speaking. We're currently cruising at an altitude of 35,000 feet or 10,668 meters. Our current estimated flight time is approximately 2 hours and 43 minutes. 2 hours and 3 minutes. We're currently showing a local arrival time into Moscow Domodedovo at 47 past midnight. For the local Cypriot time, it is 11:46 for the estimated arrival time. We've got approximately 850 miles to go. We're cruising at Mach 0.8, which is 0.8 of the speed of sound. We have a mild headwind. We should be beginning catering service soon. For your own safety, we've taken off the fasten seatbelt signs. However, for your own safety, we do recommend that you keep your seatbelts on due to unexpected or clear air turbulence, which we cannot predict. On behalf of Turkish Airlines, have a safe flight. Oh, look at that route. That is a long route. That is a very long route. No, I'm not going to Cobra the 737, thank you very much. So we're going to have to, just going to accelerate the sim rate in a little bit. Purely because someone has to catch an early flight in the morning. So I'm going to speed that up in a moment, just deciding on how much to. So, just quickly looking at the approach charts now. Delta Romeo 32 Alpha arrival for the ILS for runway 32 right. So let's have a look at that. Oh, hello. We got a caution. What have we got a master caution for? Let me check that cabin pressure instantly. No issue with the cabin pressure. There's no indication of a warning. Let's make a quick check. No active failures. We've got a master caution. We don't actually know what for. So far detecting no issues. Differential pressure is nominal. And we've got no failures. We've just got a casual failure of some kind, but it's not actually showing for what. Okay, the mystery of the master caution continues. Okay, we're still looking. Let's see. It sounded like a configuration warning. However, okay. Going back to that. We may have to force an emergency descent. I believe it's the cabin pressure. It's currently reading 20,000 feet. And everything is set. Let's set the packs to high. Cabin altitude. This is really not in the plan. It's a warning of excess cabin pressure. But the cabin's stabilized. If the caution comes back on again, because currently it's saying that we're stabilized at 1,000 feet cabin altitude, and the differential pressure is at 6.3. But if the caution comes back on again, we'll do an emergency descent and return back. So let's just accelerate this. World. Options. Forgotten where the simulation rate is in this. Oh, there we go, simulation rate. Oh, hello. You know what we'll do, because I don't particularly fancy doing all of that. Navigation map. Let's set it so we're near the airport. Hang on. Flight planner. LTBA. Actually, yeah, LTBA. So what we'll do, we'll just set it up for an ILS approach, because that will be 3 hours. Okay, destination. Domodedovo. Okay. IFR, Fjord, High Altitude Airways. Oh, that's lucky, we can confirm selection. No, stop. Okay. No. So if we now look at the map, there is a point, India November. India November, there it is. So we need to move our plane up there. This is going to cause some pretty interesting navigation issues. Let's center on the plane. So Gulf Delta. Let's have it so we're back here just a tiny bit. Okay. This is probably going to mess with the sim, so I'll probably have to configure it again. Okay, so let's pause it. First thing that we notice, we have an overspeed. So let's have a look. Legs. We're closer to Delta India, which I believe is Dinar. Yeah, so let's select Dinar. Make that our active. Okay. There we go. Okay, the aircraft will compensate for the airspeed. Just give it a moment. Okay, so the airspeed is stabilized. Right. What we're also going to do, we're going to change the fuel. So between now and then, we're only going to burn. So we need to set our fuel to about 4,000 in two. Let's make it 3,000 to be on the safe side. So we got 1,000 to burn, 1,000 for an unseen go around. Right. So now we need the ILS runway 32 left. All of these are area navigation approaches. Okay. NDV, ILS TME, ILS TME. 32 left. There we go. So the localizer for India Delta Oscar is 109.3. Going to have that selected there. 109.3. Final approach course 316. Decision altitude is 200 feet. So let's just have a look at what our aircraft is saying for our landing. So we're going to go flaps 40 approach speed. Okay. Okay, so our current situation, for those who are just joining, current situation, we're currently approaching 40 miles from the top of our descent. We've been in cruise magically for 3 hours. Currently estimating an arrival time into Moscow Domodedovo at 11:36 local time. For us, it will be 10:36, so estimating about, I don't know, let's say 26 minutes, 25 minutes if it's 2211 for us now. I've configured the aircraft mainly for the approach. I'm just keeping an eye on the approach charts. We had a little bit of a problem with our pressurization system, but that problem seems to have been rectified. We no longer have an issue, and the cabin altitude seems to be functioning normally. I'm going to put that down to the packs being a little weird today. There we go. We're currently running 1,410 kilograms of fuel per tank. We're cruising at 0.8 mark. So, let's do a little announcement, shall we? Okay, so let's get all of the information that we can for Moscow. Currently showing -11 still for the temperature. 7 knots of winds. Estimating 2036. So let's do some conversions there. Speed into kilometers per hour. So currently we're reading across the ground 466, that's 800. Okay. Okay, -26. There's a lot of deviation from the standard. Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, this is again your potential captain speaking. We're currently cruising at an altitude of 35,000 feet, or 10,668 meters. We're estimating an arrival time for Moscow Domodedovo at 2036 local. Correction, 2236 local. We're currently cruising at 863 kilometers per hour. So a little bit of weather information for you. We've got a temperature indication of -26 degrees outside currently. Local weather information for Moscow, latest reported at 2200 local time. Winds currently at 8 knots, with cloud and visibility being okay. Temperature locally of 12.2 Fahrenheit, or -11 in Celsius. Pressure is currently at 30.42, or for the hectopascal inclined, it's at 1030. No significant changes. We're expecting the runway to have some wet snow with good braking action. And again, we'll be estimating the arrival time in approximately 25 minutes. And we'll be beginning our descent in roughly 13 miles. And for the one who I'm definitely taken by, would you mind giving me some feedback on the flight so far? I mean, I haven't exactly done all of it yet, but you know, how would you rate this Uber is more or less the apt question right now. Oh, and of course the in-flight information service and the food, because the food was shrimp, and I'm sure shrimp is nice. Come on, like none of that like Turkish Airlines sandwich. Okay, it's only the best shrimp. Just going to quickly set in our initial descent altitude of 18,500 feet. Pop that on VNav. So going to quickly configure the QNH to 1. Oh, that would be embarrassing if that crashed just then. 1030. There we go, 1030 hectopascals. Okay, so let's look at our approach. Let's look at our approach information. So let's look on plan view. So let's have a look. So as we're coming into the airport, we're going to be approaching from the west. So we're going to be decelerating all the way to the approach point Nimon, making a left-hand turn to intercept the ILS for runway 32 left. Weather radar, again, showing nothing. Moscow is actually quite clear. I'm actually quite surprised. I didn't expect that. I did not expect good weather at Moscow. So, yep, we're descending now. I'm going to turn that off, because we definitely don't need that. So again, we're going to do our approach briefing, looking at Jefferson for Uniform Delta Delta, or Domodedovo. The chart was issued on the 23rd of April 2010, effective on the 6th of May. Chart slide 31-3. This is the ILS DME approach for runway 32 left. The localizer course is 109.3, we've already set that in, with a final approach course of 316 degrees. Our decision altitude in height 200 feet, in altitude 731. The airport elevation is 593 feet above sea level. For the missed approach, here is what the missed approach checklist is giving us. Climb straight ahead to 930 feet or above, then turn left onto 164 degrees, and proceed to the Delta Kilo NDB, which is the non-directional beacon. It's a ground-borne station, to 10 DME, 10 miles from the Domodedovo VOR at 2,180 feet. After passing 10 miles, turn left onto 092 degrees, then continue climb to 2,500. So basically, if we have to miss the runway, and we have to go around, we have to make a left-hand turn. Hello, we have to make a left-hand turn. Climb. I wonder if anyone can name that river, because, I mean, you know, that's a massive river, and if I'm not wrong, I think that's Moscow itself over there, unless I'm very, very wrong. Let's have a look, because there's a waypoint over Moscow. I think there's probably going to be too many for it to load. Yeah. Stations, maybe? IKM. So I think that could be Moscow. Again, could be wrong. Could be wrong. My voice is actually coming through, right? I just want to make sure. Not sure if it is. Could you let me know if it is? Because I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure it might be. Please send help. Babe, can you hear me? Anyway. So, weather's checked. Weather information is good. Is it the Volga? Must be the Volga then. If that's Moscow, that should be the Volga River. I would check my terrain radar, but I don't think it will show me in that detail. That's very cool if that's the River Volga. It must be, surely, wouldn't it? Because it's the main one that runs through Moscow. It's like the Thames for London. Okay, this is warning us that we're approaching our initial level off altitude. We're going to keep that altitude decreasing down to... let's continue that descent, thank you very much. So we're going to continue that descent down to... Let's check what the minimum sector altitude is for this area. 3,900, so let's keep that descent going to 4,900 feet. And then go from there. 4,009... let's set it for 5,000. Swapping from standard barometric to local pressure. Need to increase our descent rate and increase the drag. So let's put out the flight detent and decrease the speed. Because we're starting to approach our transition for that. If you're around Russia, yeah, it must be. It must be the Volga. And we're flying over Moscow now. If that's the Volga, then that must be Russia. Russia must be Moscow down there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Moscow. Has to be. Surprisingly, contrary to popular belief, there are no bears walking around Moscow. Or it's just melted down snow. Yeah, potentially. Wouldn't surprise me. You going to bed? Alrighty. Okay, so... Good night. There we go. Or it's just melted down snow. You have to give opinions on it, come on. You have to give opinions. Out of 10, what would you rate? Let's just make sure as well, by the way, that our... Yeah, Moscow X should be loaded. Okay, we should be able to enable VNav now. Okay, so let's keep decreasing our speed, because we definitely don't want the Russian aviation authorities coming to hunt me down. We'll turn off the cabin lights, turn on the fasten seatbelt signs. And we can see the missed approach path in that dashed blue line there, telling us where we would need to go in the event of a missed approach. Because there's snow, I'm going to put the auto brake to 3, because I really don't want to be messing around with manual braking and ending up skidding off the runway, because that would not be fun. Do I need to turn my volume up, by the way? Like, of my voice? Are you still happy with your captain? Surprised my internet connection's held up, actually. I'm quite happy. Let me just make a quick change to the plane in the settings. Options. No. Aircraft. Displays. I do want to see the fuel total display, but I also want to find... Okay, I guess it doesn't show us... just looking for a particular setting, which I do like. No, no, no. Oh, yes, we do want these on. Okay, no, I can't find it. There's one thing about flying, though, is that you can't actually run over anyone. Trust me, skiing on roads is fun, especially when you go up the hill. Up the hill. Um, okay, we're at 6,000 feet now. Our initial altitude has to be, if we're looking at the plan view now, let's keep slowing down, by the way, because our initial speed needs to be a lot lower. Bum 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 ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum ba-da-dum dum dum da-da-dum dum dum da-da-da da-da-da-da-da-da-da ba-ba-ba-da da-ba-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Okay. Right, so we're going to level off at 6,000 feet. We're going to put the terrain radar on. We're going to keep slowing our plane down now. We're only 1,830 meters above the ground, which isn't actually that far. So the terrain radar is telling us that there is terrain at 900 feet and 400 feet. There aren't any significant peaks, so we are good. Let's look at the reference altitude for what we have to be at for Nimmen. That is 3,800 feet. So let's go ahead and descend to that. Let's descend to 4,000 so that we're not preemptively very low. Landing lights are on as per requirement below 10,000. So we're gonna go for a nice smooth approach. Obviously, you know, of course you can do the oh my gosh, my pants are on fire approach, but okay, latest information. Winds 2904 meters per second, so about 8 knots, 7 knots, that's fine. Temperature -11, dew point -13, QNH 1030. No significant changes. Okay, we're all good for the weather. Thank you very much. That makes one job less for me. I don't know why I'm singing a Thunderbirds tune. Okay, let's bring out the spoilers again. We're being warned that we're approaching 4,000. Actually, we should be keeping on the descent to 3,000. We can smooth that out. It's very dark. I mean, yes, I do know it's nighttime, but it's very dark. You know. Can we install some more lights in Moscow, please? If that's okay, you know, if that's doable. Because, you know, I want to light up the sky. Thank you very much. Going to go flaps 1 now. Our speed trend is decreasing. The runway is somewhere over there. We can't see it. Namely because not enough lights. Okay. Speed brake's going back in again. Let's go flaps 2. So we have to be at 3,000. Yep. Okay. $2,500 checked. We're on radio altimeter now. Again, no significant terrain, so we are safe, which is the main thing. If we were to enter an unsafe flight situation, we would definitely have to take aversive action. Altitude acquired. We're now holding at 3,000. I'm your biggest fan when we come out with merch. Can I... I mean, to be fair, you are already, like, you do have merch from me. As such from today, definitely. And, yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and narrow that down. Let's put the weather radar on, just in case. I think I can see the runway. I know that sounds kind of odd, but I'm pretty sure I can genuinely see it. Had to refresh my sound cache then. So we should be able to intercept the glide slope fairly early on, hoping for a nice smooth landing. Would it be pointless blog merch though? Like, would it be that level of merch, or, you know, full scale? Don't know why, but I can't click that screen anymore. I can click the others, just not that one. Oh well, no big loss. Okay, coming in now to the 5 mile. We should be turning left momentarily for the approach. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be disconnecting LNAV. We're going to be going MCP, and then when we have the runway in sight, we will go manual. And just as a heads up, when I turn off the autopilot, there is going to be a fairly loud beeping noise. That's fine. It's just trying to tell you, in case you haven't noticed, like as a pilot, that the autopilot's been disconnected. So, just to expect the expected. Don't know what that means. Moscow. I don't get you. I mean, it is actually with a K, just saying, because that's the way it's actually written in Russian. Although, actually, no. What's the actual way to say it? What's the actual way to say it, love? Because you properly know. I'm sure you can vouch for me there that it is a K and not a C. Okay, so we're going to make that left-hand turn. We're going to... Here we go. We're going to activate the localizer hold in advance. We're not going to activate it. It's just going to be sitting on armed. And you can tell when something's armed or not because it appears in white. When it becomes the active mode, it will change to green. Purple and, well, cyan indicate either a value that's been set by you, like an altitude, or the glide slope and glide path indicators. Sorry, the glide slope and localizer indicators. Oh, there's the runway lights over there. No. Okay. Again, you know, almost there. Almost there, love. Wait, no. No, before I land, you need to ask me, where do you want to land? You have to ask me, love, where do I want to land? Come on. That is literally what has to happen. Please, please, please. I hope this reaches the stream in time. Okay, localizer capture. Okay, we're going to increase our flap setting now and decrease our speed. We're going to arm in a moment the approach hold when the glide slope comes down. When we hear that the case speed brakes are now in the armed position, when we see that the glide slope has come down, when we've intercepted on the glide slope, we're going to put the gear down and we should be clear to land. Please ask me where we have to land. No, not you, not you. Ah, where did you go? Okay. Okay, glide slope coming down. I'm going to arm the glide slope now. At our decision height, plus 200, so at 931 feet. Oh, hang on. Ladies and gents. Okay, gear going down. Descending with the glide slope now. Slowing to VREF. Autopilot coming off. We now have control of the aeroplane. Nope, I can't orient my view properly. There we go. So we're going to follow the glide slope now. One thousand. Going to disconnect the auto throttles. We're fully manual now. Landing checklist, flaps down, runway in sight, 3 greens, we're clear to land. 300, approaching decision height. 200, land. 100, idle. I can see ice on the runway. Touchdown, reverse thrust. Icy runway, hello. Reverse thrust, disconnect. Roll out. Braking. Okay, we're going to vacate here. And speed brake up. Sorry, down. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Moscow Domodedovo. We hope you enjoyed your flight and that the landing wasn't too rough. Flaps going up. Auto brakes disarmed. Taxi lights on. Runway lights off. Oop. There we go. And we're going to taxi to parking now. What we're going to do in advance is just start up the APU. APU start engaged. Going to turn on the cockpit lighting because I can't see that switch. APU start. There we go. So we'll take the next right. Confirm everything is disconnected. There we go. Okay, we're going to put the strobes on steady. We're going to take the next right and we're going to park at one of these stands. And I think I can see an Aeroflot plane over there. It's very blue. I've just noticed. Domodedovo is very blue. I mean, I like it. I like the design. Fairly certain where I'm heading is probably a technician's hangar, but it doesn't make a difference, does it? Also, for those for the complaint about the nose wheel steering, I'm steering with a trackball. Steering with a trackball, sorry. It's not easy. We're almost there. So what we're going to do, we're going to steal the stand, which is just to our right there. Going to slow down. This is a fairly tight turn. We're going to steal this stand where the suspected ladder is just at. Oh, it's just done a UE. Oh, well, I'm glad I'm taking this right, because I can't continue along that taxiway. The taxiway sign is in the way. Oh, yeah, it is Aeroflot. Look at that. We're officially in Aeroflot country now, boys. Right, let's slow down. Let's check outside. There we go. On the line. So, that's it, I guess. We've made it. So let's swap over our power generators. And APU generator selected. We're good for engine shutdown. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Moskow Domodedovo. Current outside temperature is minus 11 degrees Celsius. On behalf of Turkish Airlines and NG Airlines Astern, we wish you a pleasant flight. Have a good evening.